There is a little bit of an issue in the NFL.
Uh-oh.
There's a lot of second-round draft picks who haven't signed their contracts yet. And this goes back to the first 2 picks of the second round getting guaranteed contracts, and now everybody else is just kind of waiting. Trey Harris of the Chargers did not report to camp, so he's
There's
waiting.
only like 2 that are signed out of all of the
2.
second-round picks.
That's it.
2.
Yeah, 2. So we've got 30 of 32 that are not signed to fully guaranteed contracts. Quinshon Judkins, that's a little bit of a snag in things. He got arrested over the weekend. Domestic battery.
Don't want that one.
Not great, but 30 of the 32 are still waiting to get their deals done. And so the question becomes, do all of them just get guaranteed contracts? Is this how this is going to go, or is this going to play out and linger all the way through training camp? Mike Florio made the point in talking with an agent who reached out to him. Why didn't they do this sooner? Like, they participated in all the earlier stuff this offseason, so now training camp rolls around, and now they're going to do it. Why not do this sooner? So now we wait to see whether or not 30 of 32 are going to get deals done before the year.
Yeah, so let's just call it what it is. They have not agreed upon terms. I always hate when people who are smart and they know the difference, they don't actually identify what it is. All right, they're not under contract. They're not holding out. All right, they're not holding out for a better contract or more money. They have not agreed upon terms. The point being made, though, about why they ever started to go to stuff in the first place is well taken. I mean, that was a personal preference by them, maybe their agent and their team, to make that decision, and probably an act in good faith, thinking that the team's going to sign them to this deal and follow suit with the Browns and the other teams escape me at the moment. But, you know, it hasn't happened. And here's the thing. I don't think we're going to see all 30 guys or all 32 draft picks in the second round, I'll put it that way, get guaranteed contracts. Someone will break the line, if you will, and sign a deal that is not fully guaranteed. And it's unfortunate because this is what owners always rely on. And we're just going through a conversation earlier today about collusion between owners with guaranteed contracts and quarterbacks. You don't think these owners aren't probably saying to each other, like, hold the line? Like, don't follow Jimmy Haslam. That was part of the reason for the initial issue. When he gave out the Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed contract, you know, J.C. Treader thought more players would follow suit. And he was frustrated with Russell Wilson for not getting a fully guaranteed deal. Where here we go again. We have a couple of owners who's made that decision because they're probably looking at saying, we're not going to move on from these guys, you know, after their, 4-year deal. So we feel pretty confident in our evaluation and scouting. But to your point, Jonas, what makes it interesting now is Quinshon Judkins, because he's put in a position where, depending on what happens off the field, it could actually, you know, impact one of the clauses where, you know, it's under the player conduct policy and it could erase all those guarantees.
I think the idea, and maybe I'm wrong, and having you here would make a difference. I'm feeling as though they're not asking for something different. It's something that has happened since this new CBA deal has been put in place. Whatever that structure is, they weren't going for something new or something different. This is pretty much you're slotted to get the contract you're going to get at the pick you're at. So it takes out the guessing and the thinking, and really you negotiate like other things, other lingo or whatever it may be, not the money. That's what I thought this was all about. And so that, to me, now I'm all confused because I felt as though all of these things that were done that changed how the rules of engagement were for rookies getting drafted, it led to there not being any type of, as you mentioned, guys that don't have a signed contract by the time training camp comes, which people love to put out there that they're holdouts. I mean, that's how it's used. That's how it's discussed. That's how it's framed. And then now you have fans getting upset, like, why isn't he in camp? He needs to be in camp, this and that. I'm under the impression, unless you give me something different, Q, that the idea of what these players and agents are holding out on is that this is just what the contract is supposed to be. The fact that you're trying to make it where we can eliminate some of the language that would guarantee money is now something that's new and they don't feel comfortable doing.
So how I would describe it is kind of going back to our earlier conversations about this. The contracts used to only really negotiate the signing bonuses and time of when you'd get those signing bonuses, and then the really when the offset language would come into play, right? If they move on from a player, who'd be on the hook for that? So that was the two things that were typically negotiated in what is now the NFL's slotted draft spots. These second-round picks, even though a high percentage of their previous contracts in prior years used to be a high amount guaranteed, they want fully guaranteed. So they want, similar to the first-round picks, when you make that draft selection, that contract is bulletproof, fully guaranteed. Mm-hmm. Obviously, with the exception of player conduct policy and other things, but those players are going to make the value of that. So one of the reasons why I don't think everyone will stand together on this is a guy like Tyler Shuck, the quarterback who was drafted in the second round for the Saints. He's right there in the mix to be the starting quarterback. And so he knows how pivotal and how important it is to get into camp and get those reps because of their quarterback situation where there's not really a clear-cut guy at all in any way, shape, or form. But here's the problem. He gets a 4-year deal. It's potentially going to be worth about $10.8 million, potentially fully guaranteed. I would imagine if you're his parents, if you're his agent, if you're his brother, sister, someone, you're probably saying, man, it'd be nice that was fully guaranteed. As opposed to how this season looks for the Saints, which their over-unders probably set at 4 wins. Jonas, is that fair to say or estimate?
Efforting, I would say.
Because if they do play as poorly as Vegas thinks they're going to play, he's most likely going to be done. They're going to draft someone else with the number 1 overall pick or someone else with a really, really high first-round pick, and now he's trying to survive as a backup or trying to find out, where else he could potentially play. Now, the flip side of that argument is going to be Saints fans and a team saying, well, we're drafting in the second round to be our guy, and if we give you a fully guaranteed deal and you don't play up to it, that's on you. Well, it's pretty tough with where that roster's at and the situation right now with the new head coach in year 1, expecting Kellen Moore and them just to take off and play great. It's going to take some time for them to get going. And he doesn't have the ability to sit and watch like Patrick Mahomes did his rookie year or other, great quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3, whoever you want to talk about. He doesn't have the luxury to that. So there's a lot of nuances to this, and I think that's the tough part is every one of these other 30 players is in a different position, and they're all competitive, and they all want to go in and compete and play. But this may be the only contract they get. So they better maximize it and make it the best they can, but most likely won't.
Not only that, but if he plays well,
5.5 Saints win total.
If he plays well, then people will be upset if he says he wants a new contract because he's outplayed his contract. Right? Like if he's making $10 million, what would he be making by year 4 of his contract? If he's making $10 million now, what would that be?
The fourth year his contract, he'd make $3.4 million. On this rookie contract.
So, I mean, I just don't understand why would you have a problem fully guaranteeing the guy's contract? Chances are, if he were to play well, you got a value. If he doesn't play at all, it's not enough money where you would sit there and be like, dang, like we guaranteed $3 million? Like, I don't see that being an issue.
So this is the projection that I've been able to research right now. About half his contract would be guaranteed if you were to sign it based on how contracts in the second round were signed in previous years. So he'd have about $4.5 million guaranteed as opposed to at least 10.8.
I mean, why is that? I don't know. See, my whole thing is, again, when we get into the language, and you have to correct me on this if I'm wrong. Fully guaranteed means if he makes the roster, or is it if he doesn't make the roster at any point in time? What, 6-7 year? What is it? A 7-year contract?
No, it's 4.
4-year. Okay, 4-year contract. If he were to get cut in year 2. He gets 3 and 4?
Yeah, he gets the rest of the contract.
Okay, because the way I see it is if it is guarantees that, and I know we've had this debate before, conversation, if it's based off of roster bonuses or workout bonuses, stuff like that, it's like that's a guarantee or a bonus. but you have to be on the roster or you have to make the workouts in the offseason to get it. But that's still your money.
Yeah, I mean, some of this is a little bit different, right? If it's a fully guaranteed contract, it really doesn't matter what's stated in there. You get the monies unless, for example, there's offset language where you're not with the team and they cut you go somewhere else. That team's got to pay for it, but someone's got to pay for it. Like regardless, injury, everything. If it's fully guaranteed, it's fully guaranteed. A workout bonus has to be earned.
Which that is different, though.
Right. It wouldn't be included.
So these guys in the second round going for fully guaranteed contracts, that is different. That isn't what was kind of originally agreed upon in terms of the approach of these slotted contracts for the draft moving forward. This is different.
Well, the value of it is. So they're not changing, they're basically saying, hey, I'm supposed to make about $10.8 million this year. In the past, only about half of that was fully guaranteed. Now I want the entirety of it, which it's interesting that, they decided to stand together on this, but then not miss practice time to force the issue more with the teams. But also, why this year? Just because picks 33 and 34 signed fully guaranteed deals? The first round picks have always been that since the new CBA. So why is it just now that the second round they want to make this push for those draft picks as well, and then try to stand together or unified so that future second round picks will also have fully guaranteed deals? But in a small way, I'll just quickly say one more thing. This is how you get to fully guaranteed deals in the NFL. You get more guys who get drafted at that spot, have a fully guaranteed deal, and then they come into the league. That's their expectations. So what do you think they want in their next deal? They like it being fully guaranteed.
Sure.
So if you want to start that trend, you have to start it with draft picks, at least in my opinion, and them seeing the value of having a fully guaranteed deal and then trying to push for it with veteran players as well.
So, and look, I'm not against them getting fully guaranteed contracts. Good for them. Everybody should, or majority of guys should probably have fully guaranteed contracts. Why did the Texans give Jaden Higgins a fully guaranteed contract in the second round? Because they were the one that set the precedent, and Nick Caserio is the guy who made the deal happen. Why? Why did
I would imagine that they most likely, them in Cleveland, probably looked at it and said, if we're drafting a guy in the second round, we're not getting rid of him before the end of his rookie contract. So we feel confident in our observation and evaluation of who he is as a person, player, etc. Now, again, Quinchon Judkins makes it interesting, but there's carve-outs or clauses in the contract that because of what he's doing off the field are going to avoid those guarantees. So they don't have to worry about that. I mean, in this case, again, we're not talking huge dollars, but every dollar really matters to some of these billionaires who own NFL franchises. So, they have to put a certain percentage of the guaranteed money into escrow, which means they don't have it in their bank account that's in some non-interest earning other account. And owners don't like doing that, right? I mean, put it this way, everyone at home could probably agree to this. If would you rather have your money earning interest and making money for you while you're not using it? Or would you rather have to set it aside somewhere else where it's losing money on inflation? And that's a little bit of the issue too with some of the owners is when you sign these big guarantees, they've got to stock away or stack away some of that guaranteed money into an escrow account. And they don't want to do that, especially as those dollar amounts keep going up and up and up.
It's just nice to see the Texans and Browns, Deshaun's former team and current team, are the ones handing out these guaranteed contracts.
They're still scarred.
You guys should be a little bit.
They've got a long history of things, though. That was kind of precedent setting, the 5-year fully guaranteed deal. People tend to forget the Brock Osweiler trade. That was an interesting one that came up. Remember, the Texans paid him. Things didn't work out, and then the Browns essentially bought a second-round pick when they traded for him. It's not very often you see a team trade for a guy that they don't feel like has that value, but then they get a second-round pick as well. I mean, they took on that because they had the cap space, if you recall.
I mean, you guys ought to be a little bit nicer to Deshaun now that I think about it. The way you guys treat him and talk about him.
Changed the game.
Yeah. Guys really looking out for players, looking out for the betterment of players, and now guaranteed contracts. Anybody in the vicinity of Deshaun Watson's getting a guaranteed contract, franchise-wise. So good for them, man. See? That's how you do it. It is
That'd be $10. That'd be $10.
Those are back? Those fines are back now?
That'd be $10.